Hey guys, it's Refashion Hippie. So someone just donated this AC/DC shirt. It's only from Forever 21, so it's not like really valuable to begin with, but I think you can see it's got this little bleach stain on it. And I struggle with pieces like this because I could probably sell it for like $8 on Mercari because it's imperfect. It's not from a, amazing brand. And it's flawed. It's flawed, so I just can't get that much for it. So instead, we're gonna refashion this today because you can get $8 for it or spend some time playing around with it and get a lot more. So the first thing we're gonna do is my favorite thing, give it a bleach bath. So the first thing to know about when you're using bleach is please wear gloves. Make sure you wear gloves. It gets on your skin, it gets on your clothes. You wanna have gloves on. Whenever you're doing any sort of bleach dyeing or tie dyeing, depending on the effect you want, you should always wet the shirt first and make sure you're working in a well-ventilated space. So the first thing I'm doing here is just wetting the entire shirt, making sure every piece of it is wet. And you can play with that. You can have different effects if you don't wet it or if you wet half of it or whatever. But this one, I just wanted it to look a little more aged. So I'm going to wet everything. And then once that is all done, you add in your bleach. So I usually like to stick to 1 part bleach, 1 part water. But again, that's something you can mess with. Mix it all up. I'm going to wrap up this shirt a little bit just so that it stains unevenly and then pour it back in. And this material, men's clothing, is really great to use because it's usually 100% cotton and it just absorbs all of the bleach that's in there. So it absorbs it. You can flip it over, add some extra bleach, do whatever you want to do. Leave it sit for a minute. Drain the water, and then squeeze out as much as you can. I put this on a time lapse so you guys can see that color sinking in. Again, just make sure you're doing this somewhere that's well ventilated. Outside is best. I put this in my bathroom, which has a fan, but you can see it, just that color sinking in. And this happens a lot faster if you don't have it wet. You can see it almost immediately, but I wanted this one to be wet. Okay, so you can already see this has a much more interesting texture. This part looks a little tie-dye, this part looks a little faded. So the look that we're going for here is just something aged, because sure, you can buy an AC/DC t-shirt in the mall, but something that has that like real rock vintage feel is just so much cooler. And this was achieved very easily. Even this piece is more interesting and we have yet to actually really do any work on it. So that's our next step. The first thing I like to do with my refashion shirts is just cut that bottom off where it's all hemmed around, because that gives you a lot more room to play with, especially if you're gonna be doing some cutting and stretching pieces out. I just think it looks a little bit cleaner. Plus it has that rough hem rock and roll kind of feel. So that's the first thing I'm doing with this one. Then if you slice it up like I did there and just pull them apart, t-shirts have this great way of just stretching. So I'm doing the same thing with the neckline because I love that open V-neck sort of look. Stretch it out and any imperfections that you might have had are just gone. That's what makes t-shirts such a great material to get to play with. And you can see this has very no skill. What I'm doing, very, very low skill. Just sort of cutting stripes, pulling them out, and you can do this wherever you want this to be done. I like to hit the main areas, so front, bottom on the opposite side, sleeves, and then shoulder details. But you can do this however you want to. If you're my size and you absolutely have to wear a bra like I do, you can also not do the shoulders. And then I just like to add a little bit of distressing at the front. Okay, so there you have it. Pretty simple, not a highly skilled venture, but just an altogether cooler piece. And it's totally up to you. You can keep distressing it. You can cut more little pieces out. But, this went from something I probably couldn't sell because it had an imperfection to something that is so cool because of its imperfections. And it's completely unique. And something else that is important to me is if you wanted to wear this in like a high school, it's still going to follow your school rules. Nothing about this is massively inappropriate. So this is a great way to take those older pieces that you have and maintain your style, make it a little bit cooler, and not have to send them to a landfill just because there's one small imperfection. So I hope you guys like this. It's a quick, like 20-minute flip if you're looking at the actual effort put into it. And it's just not that hard. So I love this one. I hope you guys like it too. Bye-bye.